Mr. Chairman, and thanks to each of our witnesses, not only for your testimony, but for the devotion you show to this very important and challenging cause. The small role that we can play relates to the reauthorization of these two specific laws. And I gather that each of you favor our reauthorizing the Adoption Incentives Program. Have you had, I believe, Ms. Dobbins, you mentioned the Family Connection Grants, which is the newer program. Have any of our other witnesses, have you had experience with that program, and do you favor its reauthorization?
Well, I mean, I would certainly favor anything that's good for kids.
Right.
It's just that it almost avoids the real issue. I mean, as we're providing more and more services, we're not there's no mandate to continue working with kids to try to get them parents at the same time. So I would absolutely recommend the reauthorization of it, but I'd like it a little bit stronger, where there is a mandate to look for families at the same time.
Ms. Rosado?
I'd like to add that I think not only do we not have that mandate, we unintentionally create these incentives that end up pushing things to the outcomes that none of us would actually desire. And so, as the issue that I mentioned, sometimes you may have benefits that are there for a child only when that child stays in the system and ages out of the system. So that if you're a parent, if you're a foster parent in the life of that child, or if you're an acquaintance or a friend, and you have a connection there, and you want that child to be supported to go to college or to access the mental health services that they may need, you can't also say, let's go ahead and I'll adopt you and be your forever family, because the minute you do that, you're going to sometimes in some places then lose the opportunity to go to college, lose the opportunity for the mental health services that you need that will be the foundation for a successful life going forward. And so I think replacing some of those disincentives in the system would also go a long way to providing the outcomes that we all desire.
Thank you. Ms. Dobbins?
Yeah, I just want to make a point, try to get to both questions there. One of the questions is how come kids stay in care so long? There is a correlation between placement setting of children in care, especially for older youth. A lot of older youth are in group home facilities, congregate care settings. What we know about those youth is that recruitment efforts don't typically happen, but what we've seen with family connection grants, at least preliminary evaluations, is that these are actual efforts in reviewing caseloads for some of the harder children to find homes for, which are the intensive family findings. So who are the relatives of these children? And so again, back to the correlation, if we have large populations of older youth in these facilities, then those are the ones not getting the attention that they really need to be working down some of the things that we talked about of, what are their fears? Do they want to be adopted? Can we convince them that, there is a family that wants them, and that kind of thing. So I hope that kind of answers both questions. So I think the Family Connections grants start to work towards the practice that we're seeing greater improvements in.
And why is it that we need additional data from HHS, and I guess in turn they're getting that from the states?
Additional data on which? I'm sorry.
You indicated in your testimony that you wanted to see HHS reports by category.
Oh,
I'm just
very
asking
good
you
question.
to expand on that, and
Yes.
I assume that means also they're requiring that from the states.
I'm sure they are. I just haven't seen reporting at public level. Because what is reported is how much states actually earn, but I think it's important to also know what states are receiving the bonuses for. So in which categories? Are they receiving them because they're increasing the adoptions of older youth ages 9 and older, or is it because they're increasing the special needs population? Or is it because their rates of adoption are increasing, which is something important to note, because the rate of adoption is only provided as an incentive to states if there's money left over in the allotment. And so what we've seen is that rates of adoption have increased, but are there states that possibly have rate increases but can't reach the individual adoptions over a certain baseline that aren't getting the incentives because that's an afterlook? And so that's a question of, a better reporting on the categories, or at least a deeper look into this as it's being reauthorized.
Do the maintenance of effort requirements need to be altered?
That's actually another issue with the maintenance of effort is from the 4E Adoption Assistance D-Link. The federal government did a great job of legislating that these reinvestments do need to go back into child welfare services, but what we've seen is we're not really sure where they're going. We'd hope that states are spending them in the right places, but there's not a good reporting of that. And at Voice for Adoption, we do believe since this money is coming from increasing adoptions and we want to support that, that a modest percentage of that, 20%, be dedicated to continuing to support these families so that we're not seeing families, disrupt, and that their needs for, trauma and abuse are looked at the, family level.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.